Introduction. Lost Willows, Falconer's mystery. From a young age, I've felt out of place like an alien on Earth. I've struggled to understand people, often finding them harsh, unkind, and distant, leaving me feeling isolated in a foreign world. Growing up in the small town of Willow Creek, set among hilly landscapes and whispering pine forests, I was the quiet kid who chose the company of books and nature over those around me. While other children laughed and played together, I found solace in the forest solitude behind our modest house. There, among the towering trees and the gentle babble of the creek, I felt a sense of peace that was elusive in the presence of others. My parents, well-meaning as they were, tried to reassure me that I was just shy and that I would grow out of it. But as the years passed, I realized it was more than shyness. It was a profound disconnect. Their words of comfort fell flat against the backdrop of my growing unease with the world around me. School only amplified my sense of alienation. I struggled to fit in, to decipher the unwritten rules of social interaction that seemed to come naturally to everyone else. Bullies lurked in the corridors, their taunts echoing in my ears as I hurried from one class to another, hoping to escape unnoticed. As adolescence gave way to adulthood, my isolation deepened. Jobs came and went, and relationships flickered and faded. I moved from one city to another, searching for a place where I could finally feel at home. Yet everywhere I went, I remained an outsider looking in, a puzzle with missing pieces that no one could solve. Standing alone in the fading light of day, I find myself drawn back to Willow Creek, to the familiar streets and quiet woods that hold the fragments of my past. The ache of loneliness still lingers, but there is also a glimmer of hope. A hope that perhaps, in returning to where it all began, I can unravel the mystery of my existence and find the acceptance I have always sought. Chapter 1. Return to Willow Creek. Driving down the familiar winding roads that led back to Willow Creek, I couldn't shake the memories that flooded my mind. The ache of loneliness still lingered, haunting me like a ghost from my past. I had spent years searching for a place where I could belong, moving from city to city, job to job, constantly feeling like an outsider. Now, with each mile bringing me closer to my hometown, I wondered if returning to where it all began could provide the answers I desperately sought. The sinking sun tinted the sky orange and pink, giving a welcoming glow over the once familiar, yet distant terrain. As I crossed the bridge that marked the entrance to Willow Creek, a wave of emotion swept over me. The town appeared unchanged. Houses and pine trees bordered the streets, and the old bookstore still stood at the corner, its weathered sign swinging gently in the breeze. Memories of childhood adventures and quiet moments by the creek flooded back, each street corner and familiar landmark stirring emotions long buried beneath the veneer of my restless wanderings. It felt surreal to be back, like stepping into a chapter of my life that I had left unfinished. Eager to reconnect with a familiar face, I made a deliberate stop at the bookstore, hoping to find Mrs. Thompson still behind the counter. The bookstore's windows were dusty but inviting, displaying a varied arrangement of books that seemed untouched by time. Stepping inside, the familiar scent of old paper and ink embraced me, bringing back memories of rainy afternoons spent lost in fantastical worlds and philosophical ponderings. The bookstore owner, Mrs. Thompson, looked up from behind the counter, her expression momentarily puzzled as she studied me. Then, a warm, surprised smile spread across her face, wrinkling the corners of her eyes.
Well, if it isn't young Matthew,
she exclaimed, her voice tinged with astonishment and genuine pleasure.
Back in Willow Creek after all these years. My goodness, you've grown. I almost didn't recognize you.
Her eyes sparkled with curiosity as she set aside the book she was holding, clearly delighted by my unexpected return. I chuckled softly, feeling a rush of warmth at Mrs. Thompson's genuine welcome. "It's good to see you too, Mrs. Thompson," I replied warmly, my voice filled with genuine affection. I couldn't resist stopping by the bookstore. You were always the most friendly and helpful person in town. Glancing around at the familiar shelves lined with books of all genres, I added, "It feels like coming home." Mrs. Thompson's smile widened, her eyes sparkling with warmth as she gestured towards the shelves of books.
"You always had a way with words,"
she remarked fondly.
"I remember when you used to spend hours here, lost in those books."
She paused, her expression turning thoughtful.
"It's been too long since we've seen you around these parts. What brings you back to Willow Creek?"
I leaned slightly against the counter, a wistful smile playing on my lips. "I needed to come back," I admitted softly, my gaze drifting to the rows of books that held so many memories. Life took me on a journey far from here, but something drew me back to Willow Creek. I suppose I'm searching for something I left behind. A piece of myself, maybe. The honesty of my words hung in the air, mingling with the faint scent of aging paper and ink. Mrs. Thompson nodded understandingly, her eyes reflecting compassion and curiosity.
"Sometimes we have to revisit our past to find the answers we're looking for,"
she said gently.
"Willow Creek has a way of holding on to memories, both joyful and challenging. Perhaps you'll discover what you're seeking among these old familiar streets and quiet corners."
She paused, a thoughtful expression crossing her face.
"And if you ever need a quiet place to think or a good book to lose yourself in, you know where to find me."
Grateful for Mrs. Thompson's understanding and support, I nodded sincerely. "Thank you, Mrs. Thompson," I said warmly, feeling reassured. It's comforting to see some things haven't changed. Looking around the bookstore once more, I felt a sense of belonging wash over me, as if I had truly returned home. "I'll definitely take you up on that offer," I added with a soft smile. With a blend of gratitude and hesitance, I turned to Mrs. Thompson. "Could you perhaps recommend a place to stay? Somewhere quiet, where I can gather my thoughts?" Mrs. Thompson's eyes softened with empathy as she considered my request.
"Well, there's the old Johnson's cottage just a few blocks down,"
she suggested thoughtfully, her voice carrying a gentle cadence.
"It's been vacant for some time now, but it's a peaceful spot surrounded by woods. It might be just what you're looking for."
She leaned closer, her voice lowering slightly as she confided.
"The Johnsons use it as their holiday home, but they haven't been around much lately. They asked me to keep an eye on things until they returned, and they would be glad someone could appreciate their home. They are kind folks."
Her words carried a hint of longing, reflecting perhaps her fond memories associated with the Johnsons. Reaching under the counter, Mrs. Thompson retrieved a set of keys, the metal dark and slightly rusted. With a reassuring smile, she extended them to me.
"Take these, Matthew. Consider it your temporary refuge until you find your footing."
I accepted the keys gratefully, feeling a weight lift off my shoulders at Mrs. Thompson's kindness. "Thank you, Mrs. Thompson," I said sincerely, holding the keys tightly. "I truly appreciate your help." With a renewed sense of purpose, I bid Mrs. Thompson farewell and stepped out into the late afternoon sunlight, the keys to the Johnson cottage clutched in my hand. As I drove down the familiar streets of Willow Creek, I couldn't help but feel a glimmer of hope that this quiet retreat would provide the clarity and peace I so desperately sought. The Johnsons' cottage stood nestled at the edge of town, its weathered facade blending harmoniously with the surrounding pine trees. Unlocking the door, I stepped into a space that felt untouched by time, filled with the scent of wood and memories. Dust particles floated around in the sunlight through the windows, casting soft patterns on the worn wooden floor. As I wandered from room to room, I imagined the stories this cottage could tell of past inhabitants, of quiet moments shared and of dreams woven into the fabric of its walls. Settling into the Johnsons' cottage, I unpacked the few belongings I had brought with me. Each item carried its memories. A worn copy of my favorite book, a chess set gifted by my father, and a journal filled with half-formed poems and reflections. The peacefulness of the cottage surrounded me like a comforting embrace, offering a sanctuary where I could begin to unravel the complexities of my past and contemplate the uncertain path ahead. As the sun went down, it painted everything with a cozy light over the serene landscape outside. I felt a sense of peace settle within me, knowing that I had found a temporary haven in Willow Creek. Chapter 2. The Unexpected Visitor. I jolted awake to a loud noise, my heart pounding. Something was happening in the backyard. Grabbing the broom, the nearest potential weapon, I cautiously stepped out the back door. In the dim light of dawn, I spotted a raccoon that had knocked over the empty trash can. It scurried away in fright when it saw me, disappearing into the shadows. I sighed in relief, feeling the tension slowly fading from my body. The crisp morning air filled my lungs, a refreshing contrast to the adrenaline that had surged moments before. The quiet stillness of the dawn settled around me, and I couldn't help but chuckle at my overreaction. I had arrived late yesterday and hadn't paid much attention to the backyard, but now, bathed in the morning sunlight, I could fully appreciate its beauty. A charming pebble walkway, flanked by gracefully arching willow trees, meandered down to the lake, where the creek gently flowed in and out. The gentle sound of water added to the serene atmosphere. There was also a wooden dock extending into the lake, inviting me to explore further and take in the peaceful surroundings. The majestic willow trees, with their delicate limbs waving gently in the breeze, provided a quiet mood that filled the fresh morning air as I approached the dock. It was a calming presence I hadn't felt in years. It made me want to breathe deeper, savoring each breath. As I drew closer, I noticed someone sitting at the end of the dock, their feet dangling in the water. As I wandered closer, I saw a stunning sight, a young woman with long, wavy blonde hair. Her hair glowed in the sunlight, framing her face with a golden halo. She seemed lost in thought, her feet gently skimming the water's surface as she gazed out at the peaceful lake. The wooden dock groaned softly under my feet as I approached. The woman turned at the sound, her eyes meeting mine with a hint of surprise. I couldn't place her at first, but there was something oddly familiar about her eyes, turquoise, like the ocean on a clear summer day.
"Matthew, is that you?"
she asked, her voice tinged with uncertainty. Memories stirred within me, faint echoes of encounters long past, as I nodded slowly in recognition. Could this be the same Jean-Marie from high school 10 years ago? Jean-Marie jumped up with excitement and hugged me.
"What on earth are you doing here?"
she exclaimed, her voice filled with surprise and joy. Her embrace was warm, a comforting reminder of our shared past.
"I thought you'd never come back to Willow Creek,"
she added, pulling back slightly to look at me, her turquoise eyes sparkling with curiosity. "It's a long story," I muttered with a hint of reluctance. Jean-Marie chuckled softly.
"With you, a story is never simple. I've got plenty of time. Let's sit here and start from the beginning,"
she suggested, flashing a warm smile and a playful wink. I chuckled. Willow Creek's raccoons haven't quite mastered the art of waking humans with coffee, I quipped, earning a bemused giggle from her. "Come, I'm staying just over there at the Johnsons' cottage. Let me brew us some coffee. I'm in desperate need of a cup," I added with a grin. The veranda of the Johnsons' cottage welcomed us with its rustic charm, the aroma of freshly brewed coffee mingling in the crisp morning air. Jean-Marie and I settled into the comfortable wicker chairs, the soft creaking of the veranda swing, adding a soothing rhythm to our conversation. Surrounded by the tranquility of Willow Creek, we began to catch up, sharing stories and laughter as the sun gently bathed the landscape in golden light. Jean-Marie took a sip of her coffee, her expression thoughtful as she glanced out over the serene lake.
It's been too quiet around here without you,
she remarked, her voice tinged with yearning.
You always had a way of bringing a bit of excitement to Willow Creek.
Her gaze returned to me, a gentle smile playing on her lips.
So, tell me everything. What's been going on in your world?
I leaned back in my chair, cupping the warm coffee in my hands as I gathered my thoughts. The morning sunlight played across Jean-Marie's face, casting a gentle glow. You know, I began slowly. After leaving here, I felt like I was adrift. It was more than just needing a change of scenery. I needed to find where I belonged, to fill this void in my heart that's been there for as long as I can remember. I paused, gazing out over the tranquil lake, the memories of searching and yearning still fresh in my mind. I've traveled far and wide, tried different jobs, different cities, I continued, my voice soft with introspection. But no matter where I went, I always felt like an outsider, like I was missing something essential, something I couldn't quite name. Jean-Marie listened attentively, her expression reflecting empathy and understanding. So, coming back here, I continued, meeting her gaze. It's not just about nostalgia or familiarity. It's about trying to reconnect with a part of myself that I've lost along the way. It's about finding peace and acceptance, not just in this place, but within myself. Jean-Marie nodded thoughtfully, her gaze softening with empathy.
I understand,
she said gently.
Sometimes the answers we seek are closer to home than we realize.
She reached out, her hand resting briefly on mine in a gesture of support.
Willow Creek has a way of grounding us, reminding us of who we are and where we come from.
Curiosity tugged at me, and I turned to Jean-Marie, cradling my coffee mug as I considered my words. What's kept you rooted here in Willow Creek all these years? I asked, genuinely interested in her perspective on staying in our hometown. The morning sunlight danced through the leaves, casting patterns on the veranda floor as I awaited her response. Jean-Marie leaned back in her chair, her gaze drifting to the serene lake shimmering under the morning sun. A faint smile touched her lips, reflecting a mix of sentimentality and contentment.
Willow Creek has always been my anchor,
she began, her voice soft yet resolute.
Sure, there isn't much in terms of entertainment or big money here, but there's a quiet beauty in the simplicity of this place and a sense of community that I've come to cherish deeply.
She paused, sipping her coffee thoughtfully before continuing.
I've always preferred the actual woods to the concrete jungles,
she admitted with a chuckle.
Luckily, my work as a web developer allows me to live and work remotely. That way, I didn't have to leave Willow Creek to make a living.
Her eyes glimmered with appreciation for the natural beauty that surrounded us.
Just look at this,
she said, gesturing towards the majestic willows and the gentle lapping of the lake.
The peace and beauty of nature here, it's something I never tire of.
Listening to Jean-Marie, I remembered how much we had in common, even back in our school days. While most kids played together, Jean-Marie often kept to herself, much like I did. There was a towering eucalyptus tree at the far end of the schoolyard, its trunk weathered and its branches reaching high into the sky, like ancient fingers searching for the heavens. Jean-Marie would effortlessly ascend this natural giant during break times, scaling heights that seemed unreachable to others. There, among the uppermost branches, she would lose herself in the pages of a book. As I recalled these memories, I turned to Jean-Marie. We had so much in common back then. Yet, we never became close friends. Why do you think that was? I asked, genuinely curious. Despite our similarities, it feels like we were always just passing glances and brief exchanges. Do you think it was the diverse ways we sought our own spaces or the barriers we unknowingly built around ourselves? Jean-Marie looked thoughtful for a moment before responding.
Maybe it was a bit of both,
she said, her eyes reflecting a distant memory.
I guess we both had our ways of dealing with things. You found solace in your books and chess, while I found it in climbing trees and losing myself in stories. I think we were both searching for something, but we never really let anyone else in on that search.
She smiled softly.
But it's funny how life brings people back together.
I was surprised by how much Jean-Marie remembered. You remember that I played chess? I asked, astonished. I didn't think anyone noticed. I thought I was invisible back then. Jean-Marie chuckled.
Oh, I noticed. Watching you play in those local tournaments was always a treat. You made chess look so easy, as if it was second nature to you. Your opponents would be so focused, their brows furrowed in concentration while you sat there, calm and composed, almost as if your mind was drifting elsewhere. And yet, you rarely lost. It was hard not to admire that. Achieving candidate master was quite an accomplishment. But the way you played made it seem like just another step along the way.
I blinked, taken aback. You know about me achieving candidate master too? She nodded, her eyes meeting mine.
Just because we didn't talk much doesn't mean I didn't see you, Matthew. We were more alike than you might think.
I looked at Jean-Marie, curious. Do you play chess? I asked, intrigued by the idea of sharing a game with her. Jean-Marie smiled warmly.
Yes, I do. I'm not as skilled as you, but I know my way around the board.
I stood up, a spark of enthusiasm igniting my eyes. Let's find out. I have my chess set here, I said, heading indoors to fetch it. Soon, I returned with a worn but cherished chessboard and set it up between us. I glanced at Jean-Marie, contemplating her next move on the chessboard between us. You know, I began thoughtfully, chess isn't just a game for me. It's a reflection of life. Jean-Marie looked up, her gaze thoughtful as she considered my words.
How so?
She asked, intrigued. Well, I continued, moving my knight across the board. In chess, every move requires strategy and foresight. It's not just about the immediate move, but also about planning several steps ahead. This is similar to life, where our decisions shape our path and influence our future. She nodded in understanding, making her move with careful consideration.
I see what you mean. It's about making choices with consequences, about anticipating and adapting to what comes next.
I leaned back, studying the board and reflecting on our conversation. And you know, I added, how someone plays chess can reveal a lot about their character. Whether they're cautious or bold, patient or impulsive, it all comes through in their moves. Jean-Marie smiled thoughtfully.
You know, I've never quite thought about it that way before,
she mused.
It's intriguing how a game of chess can reveal so much about someone's mind and their approach to challenges. It's like a mirror reflecting the complexities of life.
As the game progressed, I maneuvered my pieces carefully, anticipating Jean-Marie's moves and finally achieving checkmate. Jean-Marie leaned back, impressed, her admiration evident in her eyes.
You're quite skilled,
she remarked, a hint of awe in her voice.
It's not just about the game for you, is it? You see it as a reflection of life, of human depth and strategy.
I nodded, feeling a sense of fulfillment beyond the victory on the board. Exactly, I replied, contemplating how chess, to me, was a metaphor for navigating life's challenges with foresight and perseverance. It's about more than just winning or losing. It's about understanding ourselves and others through the decisions we make. Jean-Marie smiled warmly, a newfound appreciation for the game and its significance dawning on her.
I never thought of it that way,
she admitted, her gaze lingering on the chessboard.
You've given me a whole new perspective.
At that moment, amidst the quiet intensity of our game, I realized that sharing this insight with Jean-Marie had deepened our connection, transcending the boundaries of a simple chess match into a profound exchange about life, perception, and human nature. Jean-Marie turned to me with a curious expression.
So, Matthew, what do you think you've learned about me from our chess game?
Her gaze was expectant, inviting me to share my insights into the deeper facets of her personality that our strategic exchange had perhaps revealed. Well, Jean-Marie, I began thoughtfully, I noticed moments where you hesitated before committing to a move, sometimes reaching for a piece only to retract your hand. It revealed your cautious nature, often second-guessing decisions and being careful not to make rash moves. Your approach to trading pieces reflected a reluctance to lose, not just in chess, but I assume in life as well, suggesting a hesitation to let go easily. What impressed me was not just your resilience, but also your intelligence and your creativity in finding unexpected moves and making them work. Even when the game seemed hopeless, you persisted with a determination and perseverance that I find truly admirable. Jean-Marie looked at me with astonishment, a soft smile playing on her lips.
Matthew,
she said, her voice tinged with admiration.
You've captured my approach to chess and life with such accuracy. I do tend to weigh my decisions carefully, and your insights about my reluctance to lose, both in chess and in broader contexts, are spot on. Your recognition of my resilience and creativity means a lot to me. It's something I strive for, and to hear it from you is truly meaningful.
She paused, meeting my gaze with genuine appreciation. Thanks for hanging out with me, I said sincerely, grateful for Jean-Marie's company. I enjoyed catching up with you, Jean-Marie. Jean-Marie smiled warmly, but with a hint of regret.
I've got some work deadlines to tackle,
she explained apologetically.
But I'm really happy we had this time together.
With a playful glint in her eye, she leaned in closer.
You know,
she said flirtatiously,
I'd love to see more of you. Maybe we can make some time soon.
I met her gaze with a soft smile, appreciating her sincerity. I'd like that too, I replied warmly. Let's find a moment when we can both relax and enjoy each other's company. As Jean-Marie gathered her things to leave, I couldn't help but feel a twinge of disappointment mingled with anticipation. Her presence had brightened my day, and I knew I would miss our conversations. It was really great seeing you again, I said genuinely, walking her to the door. Take care of those deadlines, and we'll definitely catch up soon. Jean-Marie smiled warmly, her eyes reflecting a similar sentiment.
I'm glad we got this time together,
she replied softly.
I'll be in touch soon, okay?
With a nod and a final wave, she left, leaving me standing in the doorway, already looking forward to the next time our paths would cross. Chapter 3. Yet another rainy day. I woke up to the sound of thunder rumbling through the sky. Yet another thunderstorm was brewing, a common occurrence in Willow Creek. The room was momentarily illuminated by flashes of lightning, casting eerie shadows on the walls. Rain pelted against the windows in a steady, relentless rhythm, creating a symphony of nature's fury. I lay there for a moment, listening to the storm's raw power, before finally getting up and heading to the kitchen. As I brewed a pot of coffee, the aroma filled the room, providing a comforting contrast to the chaos outside. As I sipped my coffee, the familiar scene brought back a flood of memories. In stormy weather like this, my dad would light the fireplace, its warm glow casting flickering shadows across the room. I would curl up on the couch with a good book, losing myself in its pages while the storm raged outside. My mom, always attentive and kind, would bring me a steaming cup of coffee without my asking, her quiet gesture of love and comfort. Those moments were seared into my mind, a blend of warmth and security that felt both distant and vividly present. After finishing my coffee and making a simple breakfast, I noticed the storm had calmed to a gentle drizzle. I decided to grab my raincoat and walk to the bookshop instead of driving, a ritual I often enjoyed after finishing a book on rainy days as a youngster. The soft patter of rain on my coat and the fresh, earthy scent in the air evoked cherished memories of youthful wanderings and literary adventures. It felt good to embrace the rain, reconnecting with a part of myself that had been dormant for far too long. As I walked through the quiet streets of Willow Creek, the town felt both familiar and new. The rain-soaked pavement glistened under the muted morning light, and the gentle sound of raindrops falling on leaves accompanied my steps. When I finally reached the bookshop, the sight of its worn wooden sign swinging gently in the breeze made me smile. This place had always been a sanctuary, and I was eager to see Mrs. Thompson and lose myself in the world of books once again. I stepped into the bookshop, pushing the door open with its familiar creak, greeted instantly by the comforting scent of old paper, ink, and the rich aroma of coffee that flooded my senses. Willow Creek lacked a library, but the bookstore was spacious, and Mrs. Thompson welcomed anyone to grab a book and settle at one of the many desks scattered throughout, so long as they purchased a cup of her coffee. For her, the bookstore was never about getting rich. It was a passion for reading and inspiring people to delve into the world of books. Her warm hospitality and dedication made it a beloved sanctuary for book lovers in the town. As I glanced around the bookstore, it struck me that it seemed quieter and more spacious than I remembered from my youth, especially on rainy days like this. I guess youngsters these days prefer tapping screens to turning pages.
Matthew,
Mrs. Thompson remarked warmly.
you were a regular sight on rainy days here in the bookstore back in the days. How is it over at the Johnsons' cottage?
It is a cozy place, I replied with a smile. It's quiet and charming. Thank you for letting me stay there. After exchanging pleasantries with Mrs. Thompson, I headed towards one of the cozy armchairs near the window, where raindrops painted intricate patterns on the glass. The familiar atmosphere evoked memories of lazy afternoons lost in adventures within these very walls. Seeking a good read, I reached for a thick book on ancient civilizations, but another book, seemingly eager to join the adventure, slipped from its precarious perch on the shelf above. It landed squarely on my head with a comical thud, leaving me momentarily stunned. After rubbing my sore head, I pick up the book that skydived on me, expecting to find something like The Art of Dodging Falling Books, or Gravity and You, A User's Guide. But to my amusement, the title read, Murphy's Law, A Comprehensive Guide. Chuckling to myself, I couldn't deny the irony of the situation. Carefully placing Murphy's Law back on the shelf, hoping it wouldn't launch a second attack, I couldn't help but notice a peculiar title wedged between books on local folklore and gardening manuals. Shadows Across Willow Creek, Stories Untold, proclaimed in bold letters. My curiosity awakened, and I pulled it out. By the cover and the yellowness of the pages, I could tell this book had survived time. As I flipped through the pages, each revealing a new mystery shrouding Willow Creek, my attention was drawn to a chapter titled The Enigmatic Chess Master of Willow Creek. The chapter delved into the mysterious tale of Nigel Falconer, a reclusive chess master residing in Willow Creek. Known for his unparalleled skill and eccentricity, Falconer purportedly crafted a secret chess set from rare, mystical woods sourced deep within the dense, ancient forest surrounding the town. Local legends whispered that this chess set possessed mysterious properties and was said to hold secrets and wisdom far beyond mere mortal understanding. Nigel Falconer's disappearance only added to the mystique. One foggy autumn night, he vanished without a trace, leaving behind his secluded cottage and the elusive chess set. Rumors swirled among the townsfolk. Some believed he had uncovered something powerful within the set, while others suspected foul play. The mystery of Falconer and his enigmatic creation became a cornerstone of Willow Creek's folklore, captivating the imagination of those who sought to unravel the secrets hidden within the town's shadowed past. This mystery held my attention so ultimately that everything else faded into the background. The gentle patter of rain outside, the murmurs of other customers in the bookstore. All of it became distant and insignificant. It felt like this enigma was calling to me, beckoning with the promise of answers to questions that had long plagued me about not fitting in and feeling like an outsider. Perhaps the key to understanding my place in this world lay within the secrets of Nigel Falconer's chess set. Lost in contemplation of the mystery, a familiar voice startled me.
Of all the books in this store, you obviously had to go for the oldest, creepiest one, didn't you?
Jean-Marie's teasing tone broke through my concentration, and I looked up to see her standing there with a playful smirk. "Well, you know me," I responded, unable to resist a grin. I couldn't resist the allure of ancient mysteries. I glanced back at the book with mock suspicion. Who knows? Maybe this one holds the key to all the unanswered questions in Willow Creek. Jean-Marie raised an eyebrow, her playful demeanor shifting to curiosity.
Oh, really?
She quipped, stepping closer with a mock serious expression.
I suppose you'll need a partner in crime for this adventure, then.
Her eyes twinkled with amusement as she leaned in conspiratorially. Absolutely, I replied with a chuckle, enjoying the sudden camaraderie in unraveling the town's mysteries with Jean-Marie. But first, I think we need more coffee to fuel our detective skills. I gestured towards the coffee counter, where Mrs. Thompson stood, her eyes narrowed in concentration. As we approached Mrs. Thompson, she noticed the book still clutched in my hand.
Back for more adventure, Matthew?
She asked, her voice curious.
Or perhaps seeking answers in the pages of our little haven?
More adventure today, Mrs. Thompson, I replied with a grin, setting the book about Nigel Falconer's mysterious chess set down on the counter. Jean-Marie and I stumbled upon something intriguing, and we couldn't resist diving deeper. Mrs. Thompson's eyes sparkled with intrigue as she glanced at the book's title.
Ah, Shadows Across Willow Creek never fail to captivate,
she mused, pouring us both steaming cups of coffee. Mrs. Thompson, have you ever heard about Nigel Falconer? I curiously asked. Mrs. Thompson's eyes light up.
I remember hearing stories about Nigel Falconer and his enigmatic creation. Some say his chess set held secrets that could unlock the mysteries of life itself.
Jean-Marie leaned in. Her curiosity compelled her to ask.
Secrets? What kind of secrets?
She asked eagerly, taking a sip of her coffee.
Well,
Mrs. Thompson began, her voice dropping to a whisper.
They say Falconer infused each piece with symbols and runes, each move on the board representing a hidden lesson or prophecy.
I nodded, absorbed in the tale. And no one knows what happened to him or the chess set? Mrs. Thompson shook her head.
Vanished without a trace, they say. Some believe he unlocked too much wisdom and disappeared into another realm altogether.
Jean-Marie chuckled softly.
Sounds like something out of a novel,
she remarked, her eyes gleaming with amusement.
As thrilling as any story, indeed,
Mrs. Thompson agreed, a smile tugging at her lips.
Careful, Matthew,
she teased.
You might find yourself lost in those pages for longer than you expect.
With that playful warning hanging in the air, Jean-Marie and I thanked Mrs. Thompson and returned to our cozy corner table. As we settled in, the rain continued its gentle patter against the bookstore's windows, adding to the ambiance of mystery and intrigue that surrounded us.
Can you imagine if we actually found it?
Jean-Marie whispered, her eyes wide with excitement.
The secrets it might hold, the mysteries we could solve.
I grinned, sharing in her enthusiasm. It would be incredible, I agreed. But where would we even start looking? If Falconer disappeared without a trace, there's no telling where the chess set could be. Jean-Marie tapped the book thoughtfully.
Maybe we should start by retracing his steps?
she suggested.
If he was a local, there must be places he frequented and people who knew him. We could ask around and see if anyone remembers anything unusual.
Nodding, I felt a sense of purpose taking root. "It's worth a shot," I said. "Let's finish reading this book. Then we can plan our next move." As we continued to read, the air between us buzzed with the thrill of the unknown, and I couldn't help but feel that this was the beginning of an adventure that would change everything. As we delved deeper into the book, my attention frequently shifted from the pages to Jean-Marie. It was strange. I'd known her for years, yet it felt like I was seeing her for the first time. The way her eyes lit up with curiosity, the thoughtful expressions that played across her face, and even the subtle gestures she made while talking. They all fascinated me. I couldn't believe we hadn't spoken more in school. Back then, she had been quiet, always keeping to herself with a book in hand, much like I did. Now, here she was, sharing in this new adventure with me, her enthusiasm infectious. I became aware that perhaps, just possibly, we had more in common than I ever imagined. Her laughter, her insights, even her quirky sense of humor, it all felt so natural, so right. I wondered how many moments like these we'd missed out on during our school years, simply because we never took the chance to get to know each other. But now, it felt like we were making up for lost time, and I couldn't help but be grateful for this unexpected twist of fate that had brought us together. As the afternoon wore on, Jean-Marie and I decided to call it a day. The rain had finally ceased, leaving the world outside washed clean and glistening. I felt a sense of contentment as we closed the book and rose from our cozy corner. This discovery, this mystery about Nigel Falconer and his chess set, had stirred something deep within me. I felt genuinely excited to be alive for the first time in a long while. Life had dulled my sense of wonder somewhere along the way, but today had reignited that spark. It wasn't just the intriguing legend we'd unearthed and the unexpected camaraderie with Jean-Marie. It felt like a small but significant step toward finding my place, toward filling that void that had lingered within me for so long. The fresh scent of rain and earth filled the air as we exited the bookstore. I took a deep breath, savoring the moment. Jean-Marie looked over at me with a smile that mirrored my feelings of anticipation and possibility.
Same place tomorrow?
She asked, her eyes twinkling with excitement. I nodded, a smile spreading across my face. "Absolutely," I replied. As Jean-Marie turned and walked away, I couldn't help but admire her beauty and oddly peculiar yet warm and authentic personality. Careful not to stare too long, I started walking back to Johnson's cottage. Links to the full book are in the description below. If you enjoyed this sample, please like and share to support my work. Thank you for listening,